So another quick unboxing video. This arrived today. Arrived from Bartlett Labs. A few of you TRS-80 Model 1 or Model 3, 4, etc. people might recognize the name. I'm pretty excited to get this today, so let's go ahead and open her up and take a look. See if I can not cut myself opening this up while I'm looking at it through the viewfinder. The camera, boy, that didn't cut well. Put the knife away before I injure myself. Get the box here where you can see the goodness. We of course have a receipt. Put it up here. Put my thumb over my address so that you're not seeing my home address. So we have an MIRE version 1 computer peripheral. Very cool. As you can see, it was a little bit spendy. We have a ribbon cable to pin header cable. A little 5-volt wall wart. And the object of beauty, assuming I can figure out how to open it here. Oh, he's done a really good job sealing this. There we go. Get the bag to unfold. We come out of the shrink wrap. There's a little bit of tape here. Yeah, unlike Dave Jones, I don't trust myself with very large knives. Dave can play with the big. Now that's a knife. I prefer little smaller knives because I know myself well enough to know I would hurt myself. So, oh, there's lots of tape. Get this back in frame. Well, the anticipation is mounting as I learn that I am unable to apparently open up a package. Sooner or later, we will actually get into this bad boy. So what we have here is the Model 1 replacement expansion interface. So this replaces the expansion interface on a Model 1. Let me pan the camera up here. You may be able to see in the background there. Well, let me pull the scope out. There's my trusty Model 1 expansion interface behind it. There's actually a Model 1 system expander from Bartlett Labs hidden under the paper there that gives me an Ethernet port. Hard drive emulation, floppy emulation. It's a great little board. It's really amazing on that system the expander board there to be able to actually fire up the FTP client, connect via FTP on my home network to the emulated hard drives on it, and move software back and forth and files. It's actually a pretty interesting process. It works really well. One of my favorite things with it, don't know what this is turning into a review apparently, is it actually intercepts, it sees the address bus on the Model 1. And it knows when you're writing to video memory, and it intercepts those and writes it to its own video memory and then generates a VGA stream, which is why I have a VGA monitor sitting up there that looks like the Model 1, normal monitor. It's, all the same graphics, characters, and fonts and everything, or font, I should say. It works really well. It's a great way to run a Model 1 without having to have a, a Radio Shack monitor or a composite monitor. It actually has really good video. The video on it's really good. It's really sweet. Of course, hidden back there is the Radio Shack expansion interface. I have blogged a little bit about the restoration of this system on my text blog over at shadowtron.com. The CPU has been completely rebuilt and recapped, and a bunch of video issues fixed in it. It was kind of a long repair. I didn't document it well. Anyhow, enough on it. Let's come back around to this great little card. So what do we have here? Well, we have the jumper via the ribbon cable that would go over to the expansion interface on the TRS-80 Model 1 keyboard. We have a buffered expansion interface jack out here that can actually go to that Model 1 the system expander with the FTP hardware and the Ethernet hardware and all that fun stuff. We have a parallel printer port. We have a floppy interface. We have, I believe, this is RS-232, so it's RS-232. This in hardware, really in the programmable logic in the add-on card here, is emulating the entire Model 1 expansion interface. It looks like it's register, address, port, etc. compatible. It will control Radio Shack floppies. Floppies. Boy, can't talk regular floppies. It provides RS-232 on the interface here, which matches the Radio Shack RS-232 adapter. This does control both single and double density, single and double-sided floppies. Parallel printer. It takes the Radio Shack printer interface and actually puts it in a parallel printer format. I'm assuming I can use a standard parallel printer cable with this to hook a printer up. It's got audio out back here. This is basically listening to the bit for the cassette interface. You pull the cassette out, plug it into a speaker on the Model 1 to get, I'll call it music. This is listening to that same address bit, and he does a little bit of RC filtering on it to kind of smooth the edges off to make it sound a little bit better. You can add your own box headers in various places here if you want to use box style cables, pin cables to come out. It's pretty sweet. It will not work with the Model 1 buffered expansion cable. So if you've got a Model 1 with the buffered expansion cable, you would have to use a regular non-buffered cable for it to work. I know it does add its own buffering for the expansion interface. I'm pretty excited to get this on the bench and get it fired up and play with it. Was actually expecting a little bit of other hardware here, and I'm not sure where it is. There may have actually been something not put in the box. Although I could be wrong. It may be in there. There's what I was expecting to find. So this does emulated floppies as well. So it'll control physical floppies and it'll emulate floppies. And of course, the emulation of the floppies, the data is contained on the little SanDisk SD card here. So I'm looking forward to playing with that. That is not the correct box for that. It's the correct box for the little card, not for the bigger card. Which I would assume, based on what we're all seeing here, lives right there. Yes, it does. And of course, there's a set of feet, just little feet to mount to hold the board up off. I will most likely kind of do a simple plexiglass enclosure to mount this, along with the MISE, where I've got the Ethernet adapter and all the functionality it brings. There is a way to boot through this to the hard drives that are emulated on the SE. So this should be fun to play with. I've read a bit about it on his website. He offered them up on the TRS-80 group the other day. I grabbed one instantly. I guess he sold them all out the same day. He had a post up saying he'd do another run of them. So if you don't have an expansion interface for your Model 1 and you would like one, this might be a good way to go. It's if you enjoy getting old hardware to work, that's certainly a way to go too. The Model 1 expansion interface that I've got sitting back there, I'll talk a bit more about it, had a failed power supply in it. I believe it was the diode bridge in the end was bad on the board. That got replaced. I replaced the main filter caps on it. I didn't fully replace all the electrolytics. I plan to get around to that Or did I fully replace them all? I actually replaced all the electrolytics on that expansion interface to take that back. So they all got replaced. Only the filter caps and the CPU, the keyboard unit, were replaced. All the electrolytics are still factory. This is, maybe you've heard the story, maybe not. This has gone from an unboxing video to a talking about things. That's a TRS-80, obviously a Model 1 expansion interface. There were 4 floppy drives with it and the monitor, and I got it all for $20. It was about to be recycled, and I intercepted it before it got into the recycle center, and basically offered the, asked the guy, I'd love to take that, how much for it? And he said $20. And so obviously I took it all for the $20. There was there's also a Radio Shack Line Printer 1 that came with it that I hope to get working at some point. There was some kind of a little photostatic copy machine thing Tandy sold that was in there. I haven't even looked at it yet. There was a couple of typewriters. There was some inkjet printers and stuff. I recycled the printers and the old computers, had no use for them. But was really pleased to come across this guy. You'll see kind of hiding over there to the left a couple of half-height floppy drives. That happened to be some drives I picked up against surplus someplace with the case, and they work great on the Model 1. They're double-sided, double density, 40 track. They work really well, so that's become my actual floppy drives as that's configured now, so I'm not using the old Radio Shack ones. Anyhow, I blabbered on here for 11 and a half minutes. I guess just another tidbit, I have just won a Radio Shack Model 1 with monitor. Hopefully my glasses aren't making a lot of noise here. On the mic, on eBay, that'll be delivered here soon. And the reason I ordered that, I'm going to reach here, and I didn't do an unboxing video on this, but perhaps I should have, is I picked this guy up, and I'm really excited to play with him. Put my glasses back on so I can actually see here, and we'll turn this into unboxing video part 2. So this is another Model 1 adapter. This is a Sprinter 1L card. So it's from Holmes Engineering in Salt Lake. It is it's got a Z80B. I believe you can approach 6 megahertz clock speed in the TRS-80. You pull the CPU out, this plugs into the CPU. There's some jumper wires that go on. I really don't want to take the keyboard unit you see in the background there and push it much further. I really plan to take this other keyboard unit that's coming. I'll get it repaired and fully working and recapped, and when I'm happy with it, then I'll go ahead and add this expansion to it. We will certainly go through and do a video on that and capture everything, and you can come along for the journey. And I've been eyeballing, somebody's got a card called the CPM mapper that I'm seeing on eBay that essentially lets you run CPM on a Model 1. It does the remapping of the addresses, so you've got RAM in the lower address space, so you can run CPM. That will probably be another CPU once I get one at a price I like. With the Sprinter, there was these pictures that he sent along. It looks to me like they uninstalled it from something. There is a manual. I found the manual online, and he supplied the manual on CD. The installation looks pretty straightforward here. I really need to spend some time, understand the schematic and how this actually works with the Model 1. But I think this will be a fun project. There it is. There's yet another project that is on my plate to hopefully get to at some point. And of course, if you look at some of the recent videos, you know that a couple days ago my Roden Schwartz RTB 2004 arrived. Really enjoying the scope so far. It is by far the best oscilloscope I have ever owned personally. I've had some nice surplus tech scopes over the years, and they were great scopes. But for performance on this thing, 300 megahertz, 4-channel, 16-channel logic analyzer, all the decoding, deep memory. It's just a great little device. I actually have, sitting here in front of it is a Rigol MSO 1104 that I bought about 2 weeks before I was able to get in on the deal on this guy. And of course, this is 100 megahertz, 4-channel, 16-channel logic analyzer, and I'm going to try to do a couple kind of side-by-side videos with the Rigol versus the Roden Schwartz. Just kind of look at them side by side. I'm not sure what we will or won't see when I do that, but it should be kind of fun and entertaining. So wow, what was going to be a 2-minute unboxing video is now at 15 minutes and 20 seconds. I'm pretty excited. I don't know that I'll get to this Radio Shack stuff this weekend. I hope to spend some time this weekend playing with some of the features on the new Roden Schwartz scope. I think I mentioned in one of the earlier videos on it that I really want to pull out my PIC32 development environment and do a little bit of coding on there to drive like an I2C bus and some things like that, and just play with the serial decode on the scope and kind of go through end to end what the code looks like, the hardware, hooking up the hardware, decoding it. Even we'll probably go in and do essentially some parallel port stuff and generate some 8 or 16-bit data streams. I'm actually tempted to kind of come up with my own version of an 8-bit bus with clock and enable, and spit some ASCII out and see if I can get the Roden Schwartz to actually decode it. That might be kind of a fun little project. Anyhow, I can go on and on and on, obviously. We're at 16.5 minutes. I'm going to cut this here. I'll get this edited and up, and we'll talk soon. Bye.